So when you look around, what we find in science is it tells us that everything is made of atoms, and atoms are 90% nothing. Okay, so when everything is 90% nothing, but we're all made of atoms, the same atom that makes me makes that tree. So there's nothing different between me and the tree, because when we get down to the base, we find out it's an atom. So if everything is made of the exact same thing, then what is there? And if it's 90% empty space, then 90% of this world doesn't exist.
How's it going, man?
Enjoying the weather?
Doing all right. You got time for a short interview?
What are you going to ask me?
So I'm doing something called street epistemology. Street epistemology. Epistemology is a term that is a subject about knowledge and how we come to the different ways we come to knowledge, and then the street part is just because I'm not on the street.
Yeah.
So what I do is I ask someone to pick a belief that they're pretty certain is true, and I'll just ask questions to kind of uncover how you got there and the method you used and whether or not that method is reliable. So I do ask some challenging questions.
Okay.
To lightly, challenge you a little bit. You want to give it a try?
You go for it.
All right. Are you okay if I record it?
Where is it going?
I have a YouTube channel. And at the end of it, if you're like, no, I don't want that on the channel, just let me know.
What's your YouTube channel?
I can get a card here. Let's see if I can.
So what got you started doing this?
I watched someone else do it, and I thought it was pretty interesting.
How's your channel going?
It's all right. Not doing too bad.
Okay, so what got you into this subject in the first place?
What got me into the subject?
Yeah.
Of epistemology?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've known about epistemology for a while, but as far as like actually having interviews and stuff like that, again, I saw someone else do it and I thought it was pretty interesting. I think it's a good way to talk to people about anything.
Yeah.
Like it's a great way to have a conversation without it being like an argument or something like that.
No, I understood.
Yeah.
But what got you down the path to get to that point where you were looking into stuff like that?
What do you mean?
I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out how you got where you are.
I don't understand.
Okay, so just like you're asking with beliefs, that there are certain things that have led us to those with the information. And so there's always a path towards something. And so I'm asking for a brief, what was your path to get into were you researching something? Were you trying to find answers to something? Or?
I don't even remember how I came across the video, but I think I was just browsing through YouTube, and there was this guy named Anthony Magdamasco who started having interviews with people, and I thought it was really interesting. And then I just found myself watching a bunch of videos and learning the technique, and I became convinced that it was a better way to have a conversation. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now through all this experience, now have you changed at all? Like from seeing all different points of view?
I think I've changed a little bit. As far as if someone else is using a method and I examine it, and I see that maybe it's not a reliable way to get to truth.
Okay.
Then I've become much more aware of that, and I was like, well, I don't really, I may be doing this with something else, and so I try to not use that method as well. So it's kind of like when you first start out, it's a lot of listening and a lot of taking in, and then after a while you kind of hear the same answers. But the first time I've done it, it was like I relearned why certain methods are not as reliable as others.
Yeah.
And then from there I can just keep thinking about other methods and stuff like that.
Okay.
So it basically it causes a lot of like self-reflection,
Yeah.
and it's not so much like back and forth. It's more like, okay, how can we go about discovering X, and stuff like that.
Okay, I'll give it a try.
Cool.
I'll let you record me.
All right. What was your name?
Tim.
Tim? Eddie.
Eddie.
All right. So I let you guys just pick whatever belief you want to talk about, and it could be anything, and I'll just ask some questions. I usually have like a timer where I time it for about 10 minutes, but I try to
Okay, so define a belief.
something you're convinced, some proposition that you think is true,
Some proposition.
or you're convinced is true.
that I'm convinced it's true.
Yeah.
Okay, life is an illusion.
Life is an illusion. All right. I just spelled that. Okay, I want to get a sense of your confidence that this is true. From 0 to 100, 100 being I cannot be mistaken about this, I'm not open to being wrong about it, and 0 is I have all questions, no confidence that it's true. I don't even know. I'm not convinced at all. So like, where do you fall in that scale?
Probably very high at the top.
Well,
So we'll say a 9.
90%?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. What's the main reason you're at that 90%?
All right. Main reason at 90% is so exploring the world, trying to figure out who we are, where we are, what's the point. Okay. So, basically, when you start looking at everything that we've been given, that so earlier we were talking about ways we come up with how we see things. So one of the methods that I use is, okay, so imagine I have in my hand a clay pot.
Okay.
Okay, the clay pot, what is the base of the clay pot? The clay. So the form is the pot itself.
Okay.
Okay. So then the question becomes, if you can take something and take it to the base, everything has a base, and you keep going down to the base, to the base, to the base, to the base. So when you look around, what we find in science is it tells us that everything is made of atoms, and atoms are 90% nothing. Okay? So when everything is 90% nothing, but we're all made of atoms, the same atom that makes me makes that tree.
Mm-hmm.
So there's nothing different between me and the tree, because when we get down to the base, we find out it's an atom. So if everything is made of the exact same thing, then what is there? And if it's 90% empty space, then 90% of this world doesn't exist.
Okay. So you're saying because there is so much that is not there, that tells you that what is there isn't really there?
Correct.
Okay, gotcha. Interesting.
Okay, so so another aspect of looking at it is it's a lot like a video game. So this is really why we really get into virtual reality. Is the whole thing is that our eyes are a looking glass out into this world, and just like a video game, you have rules and things that can and cannot occur, but inside that video game is nothing but energy particles, okay, that makes up in that screen. But the designer was able to say that if it's a first-person shooter game, I can't walk through that wall. But the whole thing is that wall's no different than what that avatar is. But because of the way the rules are in the whole thing, you can't walk through it.
Okay. So what would get you to like the 99% or maybe 100% mark?
I'm pretty darn close. I mean, saying 90%, I mean, I'm extremely at the top of this.
Okay. What would drop your confidence? What would have to happen for you to drop your confidence?
You'd have to absolutely be able to figure out I'm wrong on the basis. So you'd have to take science and figure out how to, not everything are atoms. They have to be different things.
Okay.
They can't have the same base, because if we all go down to the same base, what makes us different from that tree?
Okay, I gotcha. So when you say that there's no difference between us and a tree because we're made of the same thing, why do you think people view them as different?
Well, they view them as different?
Yeah.
Okay, because we are disconnected. Okay, so where the disconnection is we don't understand that we are connected to that tree.
Okay.
And so same thing with animals, that we don't understand that we are connected to the animal because we're all down at the same base. And so
Okay. Can someone understand that we are connected to animals and trees and still see the difference?
So a real good example is, let's take a dog. Okay, with the dog, when you come in contact with that dog, you usually have one or two experiences. There could be more, but we'll go with the base experience of the dog's going to like you or the dog's not going to like you. Okay? And so the thing is, typically we have observed in our lives that, okay, and we tell our children this, don't be afraid of the animal, because the animal can sense it. But the thing is, because the animal is in the more natural state of understanding that it is connected to everything, that's why it's able to sense those things. And so when we come across and we're afraid of the animal will typically take the dominance and come towards us. But when you come with the understanding that you and the animal are no different, that animal will typically not charge on you, is because it can sense what you are on the inside and the way you perceive it.
Okay. When we talk about an atom and like 90% of it is empty space.
Yeah, I mean, some studies show it's always up to 98%, but
okay.
I'm just using.
So like, whatever the percentage is, a high amount of what an atom is
empty space.
Contains empty space. How does?
It's just the energy particle, so everything's just energy.
How does the space in which something takes up?
Okay, so if we go back to Tesla, okay.
Let me ask the question.
Okay.
Or ask the question, I'm sorry. If atoms are, most of it is empty space, how does something spanning a large area of space, but not being everything that has a lot of empty space, how does that empty space relate to whether that thing is real or not?
Okay, so let me use the analogy of a video game again.
Okay.
So on a computer screen you have a bunch of pixels. So there's your electrical atoms. Okay. So when you're playing a video game, it seems real, especially if you go into the 3D glasses and all that the perception, oh wow, it's real. With our technology, we've got so sophisticated that with virtual reality, you can't tell the difference between the two. And you can watch YouTube videos of people putting on the glasses and they put balance beams and they're walking on these balance beams, but they can't see it. But in virtual reality, they got a big gorge underneath them and you can see them just freaking out that they might fall, but land is just right there, that it's just a piece of wood on the ground. There's nowhere to fall. And they saw that before they put on the glasses, but then when you see the reactions that they have, the whole thing, it all perceives to be real. Now, just like a video game, because there are codes that say this does this, this does this. So this avatar cannot go through this wall, or any of those things. Well, when you look in our science and our world, that what we have discovered is the fact that everything is governed by laws. Well, that's basically the same as the code which in the program for the video game.
Okay, so what is a good way to tell the difference between an illusion and what's real?
Illusion and what's real?
Yeah, what's a good way to tell the difference?
Well, if everything is just an illusion, then there's not much real.
But if it was real, how would you know?
How would you know?
What are you looking for?
I have no idea. Because, I mean...
If you're not sure what to look for to determine if it's real, is it possible that it is real, but you have no way to verify it?
Okay, so a really good example of that is, okay, like we use gravity, but gravity's still a theory, so we haven't been able to prove it. because it's just a working theory. So I mean, on that, out of everything I've looked at, I have not found anything that has proven to me that there's a sense of there's something solid.
What would you accept?
Like, what do you mean?
When you say you haven't found anything, I guess what I'm asking is, what would you accept as evidence that it's real?
Evidence that it's real. I'm not understanding how to answer that question. Like,
yeah, because what I hear is you have a lot of examples of what to look for if it's an illusion, and how it correlates to video games. So we know like how to.
So the whole thing is, if it is absolutely not real, then there's not going to be anything that you can prove it to be real.
So are you saying that you're unable to differentiate it?
What do you mean?
Like, if you were in something that's real.
I don't think we could figure out the difference.
Okay, so we're in a position
because if we're born into something that is absolutely nothing but an illusion, okay, we wouldn't have the ability to comprehend something that's not. Because how would you tell the difference? Because like this seems all real.
Wait, say that again. If we were born into
a illusion.
Okay.
And so the thing is, like, just like if you were born into that video game,
mm-hmm.
okay, you're that little avatar body, everything feels real. That's what you've been told and taught all your life. You've gone to school, they've told you, hey, this
right.
is all real. And so the thing is that you now adopt the belief that you've been taught, and so for you to realize that it's not real, it's almost really hard to comprehend. And so we would assume that everything is real until there's other evidence saying otherwise.
Okay.
But when, like I'm saying, when you're looking at science, when you're looking at an atom, I mean, you're talking 90% or more is empty space that makes up this tree. This tree, according to science, is 90% nothing, but it looks like something.
So how does the amount of space something takes up relate to whether it's real?
It relates to it's real.
Yeah, so why does a large amount of empty space relate to whether it's real or not? Like, what percentage would it need to be for it to be real?
Alright, so what percentage? So this tree, for it to be real, I would assume that it would have to be almost 100% solid.
Ah, okay. So 80% of empty space indicates that it's actually not real. That's what you're saying?
Okay, so let's say it was at 50%. Well, if it was at 50%, then only partial of it would be real. So,
Okay.
So going to saying the atom's 90% empty, okay, there's only 10% of something there, but it's not what we perceive.
Okay, but as far as what's real, if it's 90% empty space and 10% wouldn't matter, or whatever you want to call it, energy.
Because the only thing that is real is energy.
So how does the space it takes up relate to whether it's real or not? Why is that? Why does empty space affect whether it's real or not? Or tell you?
How do you know it's taking up any space? Because just like in the video game, you got this flat monitor that's displaying, but it looks like a three-dimensional world, and you navigate it like that. So it's all part of the illusion.
Yeah, perception, definitely can be tampered with. But what I'm asking about is, why does empty space that something takes up relate to whether it's real or not? Like, why can't something take up 1% of space and still be real?
Okay. So where you're taking me differently is the fact that I'm looking at it, it all goes down to the exact same thing, and science tells us that all atoms are the same.
Right.
And so the thing is that this tree looks like a tree, but the problem with that tree is if it's the same as all the other atoms, then why does it look like a tree?
The arrangement
Well, it's
of those atoms?
the arrangement of the atoms, but it comes down to the exact same thing. It's still the
Right.
same atom that makes up us. Why do I look like this and that looks like that?
The arrangement of the atoms, yeah, I would say.
Yeah, it's the arrangement, but it's just like the pixels on the video game. That it's just the arrangements and the colors that it chooses.
Right.
And
So, like, what we perceive, or what most people perceive as real, has similar properties to what we see in video games.
yes,
So,
I mean it's the easiest way to explain it for someone to understand.
yeah.
Yep.
So I guess what I'm still stuck at is, for something to be real, it'd have to be 100%. It would have to take up 100% of the space. I'm still wondering why the space, if anything has space,
There is
why
no
that
space.
indicates it has
Okay,
an illusion to
so the other thing is, okay, we're talking about space and time and all those things. Those are all part of within the program of all this. So everything we've been taught to run off of time, run off of space, volume, all these things.
Mhm.
And so we assume everything has to fit within those. Okay, we also assume that everything has to be exactly a certain way. But we have in life many things that we can't even explain with science. Okay,
Okay.
and so with those extra things, there's something occurred that. How did that happen? And typically I call them supernatural things.
Okay.
And and so the question becomes, okay, why are there things that can defy outside of the laws that we have discovered? Okay, maybe there's more laws that we've not discovered,
Mhm.
but they typically, all those little things seem to be anomalies, and we can't seem to figure out how they operate and how they work. And so with those things that are sitting out there, we basically sit there and just don't know.
Okay. So if we are in a state of not knowing, and there's no way for us to really differentiate between what's real and what's not,
'Cause-
do you think?
So the only thing I think is real is our conscious.
Okay.
Is
So
the fact that we have the ability to observe and think. And
so yeah, and that's I understand what you're saying. Like, I guess my question is, if there's no way for us to really differentiate between what's real and what's an illusion, how are you, or why are you 90% confident that it is an illusion? How are you getting to such high confidence?
okay, are you versed in with the Sanskrits?
I'm sorry?
Are you versed in Sanskrits?
Not really.
Okay, so one of the things that's taught in the Sanskrits is a three-pillar system.
Okay.
And so the three-pillar system is where you take an experience and you take basically, let's say science. You could go with let's say you're going to do something on the religious side, or you're looking at a history book, or you're looking at any type of other information outside source.
Okay.
And then so you have an experience, you have an outside source, and then you have your logic. And when you sit there and take all three and you combine and work them basically to death until you cannot out-reason anymore, then you basically have come up with what is probably more true. And I'm just going to say probably, because I mean,
Okay.
that's not where everybody sits, but but like when you study like the Sanskrits, the way they've come up with doing the Sanskrits is dealing with a three-pillar system. and so when you go through that, It's the ancient writings that basically try to figure out this place and bring it down to the absolute. What is this?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's part of the system they use in order to do that. And there's a lot of times where I'm going is like I mentioned science here. That here's an atom. Okay, so there's my outside source, and with experience and everything else that I'm not going to get into it on your video.
Okay.
But there are some interesting life experiences that I've been going through that puts me into a very convincing place.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and if you ever wanted to email me, any details or anything like that, you can definitely do that.
Yeah.
And maybe just kind of think of how you could tell if it was real versus an illusion. What is if there is a method, what would it look like, and how could you tell the difference?
Yeah.
And if there isn't one, can we be justified in being convinced either way, or being believing either way if there is no way?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right, man. Thanks for the talk.
Cool. Thank you, sir.
All right.
So your video.
What was that?
You gonna turn off your video?
Sure.